What's up, everyone? I'm Doug Kyed. Welcome to Pat's Chat. I'm here, as always, with Michael Hurley. Michael, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. How are we doing today?
Doing great. Doing better than whenever last time when I was whining about whatever. So can't complain.
There's a lot of stuff to whine about last time, so it was
I
fair.
get cranky. It's the end. Like the weeks are long. The weeks are very long, but we made it.
Yeah.
This one's short, actually, Patriots wise. So that's a positive.
Usually, for every long week, or for every short week, there's a long week. But for the last short week, there was another short week. Went from Monday to
Yeah.
Sunday, Sunday to Saturday. Now you finally get the the long week. So you're kind of bookended with two short weeks by two long weeks.
Have you noticed this year that the NFL has been putting teams on Thursday one week and then Monday the next week? And it's like, why am I watching the Rams again? Why am I watching the Cardinals again? I don't know what the plan was with that, but it stinks and I hate it.
Yeah, it's like they wanted to give them like a second. It's not even a mini buy at that point. You're almost getting like a full buy if it's Thursday to Monday.
Yeah, but then you have a short week, so it's like it's too
Right,
much. I don't
yeah,
need that
doesn't really
much
help you that much.
Los Angeles. I get they won the Super Bowl, but it's they've done it a lot, and it's just unfortunate.
It was pretty funny on Monday night when it was the Packers and the Rams. It was like, heading into this season, ESPN was like, "Hell yes,
Yeah,
we've got the Rams and Packers. We're gonna get Peyton Manning and Eli Manning on this. It's gonna be the best matchup of the year." And then it comes down to it's like, God damn it!
no,
Like Baker Mayfield's involved. How did that happen?
that was a rare night where I treated football like baseball. Like in the second quarter, I put like a Netflix show on or something, just because it was like I'm not going to watch all 60 minutes of this. Like, I don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, I watched too much of it, and we'll talk about maybe the Christmas slate and how much of our Christmases we're gonna give to like the worst game, like Bucks Cardinals. I'm gonna be like staring at like an idiot. So I mean, we can make fun of it if we want, but I know where I'll be. Sadly,
Yeah, we could talk about that later, but that's one kind of good thing about not having a national perspective on the NFL anymore is that like I don't feel compelled to really pay that much attention to football games on
Raiders
Christmas.
Steelers Christmas Eve at 8:15. Not
Yeah,
taking up your
it's
time.
I it might be on like a laptop while I'm doing something else, but let's talk
Phone
about
relegated to the
let's
phone, Doug.
on the phone. Let's talk about the Patriots for a little bit here. Or for a lot bit here. Let's talk about the injury report first because that's the most latest news that came out. And we have found out from Mike Reese of ESPN that long snapper Joe Cardona out for the season. Patriots also will not have cornerback Jalen Mills nor wide receiver Devontae Parker on Saturday, Christmas Eve, against the Cincinnati Bengals. And there's a bunch of guys who are questionable: Damian Harris, Jack Jones, Jonathan Jones, Jacoby Myers, Ramondre Stevenson, and Tyquan Thornton. The two guys on that list who did not play last week were Damian Harris and Jack Jones. So it seems like there's at least a possibility that those guys will play. But I will say about the Patriots injury report, they are so much less clear than any other team when it comes to injury reports. Everyone knows that already. But like typically on like the 31 other teams, you would have some idea of whether or not Damian Harris or Jack Jones was going to play this week. With the Patriots, you just have no idea. Questionable means
I'm
nothing.
Damian Harris went to Arizona.
Right.
He went on the road trip and hasn't played still. So that one's a tough one. I feel bad for him. We might have talked about this already, but like I always feel bad. It felt like they were trending toward diminishing his role in his contract year anyway. And Ramondre Stevenson's presence was, a big part of that. And it's not like they were lacking. So like I already kind of felt bad. Like he was losing money. Running backs' careers are so short. And then like he gets hurt on Thanksgiving. We haven't seen him since. Like I hope for his sake and his bank account and his future in the NFL, because he's a damn good running back, I think. And I don't know that he changes the equation with the Patriots this week or beyond, but for his own sake, I would hope he gets back out there. That's always like my bias watching sports is like I just root for the players to like do well for themselves.
Yeah, and I feel like I don't know. Obviously, it's been tough that he's dealt with so many injuries this season, but like everyone does know that he's a good running back, and I feel like he hasn't really been an injury guy in the past. So hopefully,
Well,
he
like
still gets paid. It won't be as much as he would have though.
it's
Like
the
if he was
same
having the
as
season that Ramondre Stevenson was having, then yeah,
right. I just like James White is like a tragedy in my mind because he obviously in 2020 had a real life awful tragedy where it's like, geez, like who cares about football? And then that brought him back for a year, and then he has like a Bo Jackson injury, and that's it. And it's like, man, that guy was going to make so much money if not for a series of events. So I hope the Patriots employ him forever in some role, just because he deserves it. Running back.
Absolutely. Yeah, running it's tough. I mean, if you're like college coach or high school coach is trying to convince you to play running back and you're like a 4 or 5 star prospect, be like, no, I'm playing safety, I'm playing linebacker, I'm playing I don't even know what like wide receiver,
Athlete.
slot
I'm gonna
receiver,
be an athlete.
anything else. Yeah.
You look at Debo. Was it last offseason? I get my offseason
Yeah.
confused. Where he's like, I'm not playing if you keep handing me the ball. Like this is not a good career move. So, it's too bad. But anyways,
Yeah.
the Cardona thing, they are just coming off obviously a blocked punt where the snap came and not everyone was ready. So, for as much as we could be like, well, we'll see how this goes. It's like, well, they're coming off a major blunder on the punt team. So, but I mean, where I do think that matters is, let's say there's any issue on the field goal unit for a team that depends on field goals. Like you can't be missing a single blink on that process. And it's been money. Nick Folk hit whatever 50 straight under 50. So before that broke up, like that unit was pretty comfortable with how they were working. So as much as we're not going to break down the long snapper spin rate, speed, I remember when they drafted Cardona, we had his mile per hour on the long snap, which was like one of the funniest day of my life. I do think if you're looking for something from the definitely out guys, that's one area in the field goal area that could show up.
So with long snappers, I find long snappers like pretty fascinating, not fascinating enough to like actually like write about them or think about them that much or talk about them,
Or
but
respect them or care about
or
them.
or even know what their names are. Like I've actually a few points on long snappers right now.
All right.
First of all, it's kind of amazing that like there's 32 NFL players employed by teams, and most of whom have been with their teams for like 5+ years, I would assume.
Right.
Like, and I can name like a couple other long snappers in the NFL, maybe. I actually don't even know if I really can. And I like just was covering the entire league like a month ago. But isn't it kind of amazing? First of all, how anonymous they are, but second of all, how consistent they are. Is anyone else
Yeah.
in sports as like set it and forget it consistent as an NFL long snapper is? Because I legitimately don't think there's anyone else in sports who's like that. That you can just
No.
count on to do it for like 15 years and you never have to change it out.
It's kind of like the equivalent, I would say, if you could be a golfer and you could just hit it 240 down the middle every single tee shot. Like you're not bombing it 300, but you're
Right.
also not shanking it to the right. You're also not, completely missing. You're not coming over the top. You're just, every time you're stepping up and you have your body down to a science and you're just going to bring it back and you're bringing it forward 240 right down the middle. It's a weird thing. If you've never tried it, like in high school, like we all, and with shoulder pads on and helmets, it's like,
Right.
it's extremely difficult. So it's a pretty unique skill. I'd expand it, Doug, while we're doing longsnapperpodcast.com. Expand it to Division I college football. There's a lot of guys snapping the football to punters and kickers. Like, God bless them. Going to college for that. Do you get a scholarship for that? Probably not.
Well, and then Steve Belichick did it. Steve Belichick was the long snapper.
He could
at
afford
Rutgers.
school.
I actually don't think he was the long snapper. I think he was a long snapper.
A long
and
snapper.
There's a very clear difference, I think, between a long snapper and the long snapper.
Yeah.
But no, Tucker Addington. Do you know where Tucker Addington went to college?
Rutgers? I don't know.
He went to Sam Houston State.
Oh, yes, I did know that.
It's kind of funny to pull a long snapper from like an FCS school. Like that, like one of the 32 or now one of the 32 best long snappers in the world.
God
Wasn't
bless.
even good enough for an FBS school.
He was in the USFL as I recall. I'm going to make the executive decision to cut our long snapper talk short, but I do want two quick stories. Once in high school, I went to the mall, the Burlington Mall, took the bus there because none of us drove yet. Walked into Macy's and Lonnie Paxton was doing a signing and there was nobody there. A woman came over and was like, guys, could you come over and meet Lonnie Paxton? He's from the Patriots. And we're like, oh yeah, he's a Snow Angel guy. And like, he signed my friend's like random hat. And they were like, he was like, you guys want autographs? We're like, no, but like, nice to meet you. So that was one. A second one, remember in like 2010 ish, they had like a cycle of long snappers. Like there was a kid from Hawaii. I forget his name. It was like Jake or something.
Jake Ingram, I think.
Maybe that was, yeah. And so I was at a game. It was either a playoff game. like a divisional round game or maybe like a big Monday night game, whatever. And I'm in the press box, like getting ready. And, the game's like 15 minutes from starting, and they have the strips of explosives, pyro, lined up by the helmet where they come out. And so this long snapper runs out with the kicking block in his hand, and like the holder and the kicker, Gostkowski, and they just run out because they're get out early to get some kicks in. And the guy operating the pyro must have been like, "Oh my god, is it starting?" And he flipped it on and almost killed the long snapper. Like he almost, it was so close. It was like a movie, like a Die Hard explosion. Like I almost watched, and I don't think anyone else in the stadium watched because he just like shot off one explosive, and it was like, "Oh wait, it's just the kicker." And it was like, I almost saw the long snapper die before a playoff game.
Good Lord. Okay. Well, that's I'm glad we didn't lose a long snapper that day. It would have been tough to witness a murder. Being the only witness to a murder in front of 70,000 people. That would have been,
I would have had to testify. The poor guy. It was an accident, but we avoided it barely.
Would have really like created a real scenario for you. It would have been unfortunate. But earlier in the week, some people found it interesting that Bill Belichick was asked if Mac Jones was going to be the starter for the rest of the season. And that Bill Belichick said, he basically just pivoted and said, "Yeah, we're going to get ready for the Bengals," or some sort of quote like that. Try to beat the Bengals. I don't know. I wasn't that surprised by that. Some people seem to be surprised by it. I think like Pro Football Talk wrote about it or something, but I think that that's just like sort of the way that Bill Belichick is going to answer that question for until the end of time at this point, right?
Yeah, I didn't take it as a vote of no confidence. I took it as Bill just not answering your stupid question. Let's go to work. And like a question or two before that, I forget who, someone asked about Mac's mechanics. Like how much were Mac's mechanics at fault for that 13 for 31 passing performance? And it was the same thing. Like, yeah, well, we all got to get better each week. It was like one of those press conferences where if you're looking for specifics coming off a game like that, you're just not going to get it. So that was my take on it. But at the same time, I do think I don't want to be naive and ignore what happened earlier this year when going into that Bears game, there was in those 2 weeks before it, there was no vote of confidence. Where is Mac your quarterback? And it's like, well, there was no Cam Newton in 2020 situation where it was clear this is our quarterback. No reason to ask about it. So I'm not going to completely like wag my finger at anyone that's trying to like drum up attention for it because we have experience with it 2 months ago being real. So I'm not saying Zappy's coming out this week, but I don't think that it was necessarily misinterpreted by everyone. I just didn't interpret it that way.
Yeah, no, I didn't interpret it. I like you said, I think it was just Bill being Bill, not really wanting to answer anything. And I think that that's specifically like, I don't know. I mean, he's going to make headlines no matter what, but if he like throws his vote of confidence behind Mac Jones and then he has to pull him, then he knows that he's going to wind up looking stupid. But I in rewatching Mac's performance from last week, he wasn't good, obviously. But I don't know if I'd necessarily say it was like the worst game of his NFL career. And I don't know if this is by design or not, but like as many passes as Mac Jones was missing and as inaccurate he was at times in that game, at least they weren't, near interceptions. At least they weren't like pickable passes against the Raiders. But once again, I'm not sure if that's necessarily by design or not, but at least if he's missing, he's also not putting the ball up for grabs at this point.
Yeah.
Is that like the faintest praise ever?
Yeah, no, I'm going to stick with it was bad. I understand what you're saying where if you go, and he was talking the other day, we want to end every drive with a kick, whether that's, a field goal or an extra point, or sometimes a punt isn't bad. And it's like, man, the philosophy of this offense sucks. Like if that's what your quarterback is coming out and, he's regurgitating what's told to him. And it's like, I don't know. What's the point of even putting the pads on if you're going out there like with that mentality?
Like, punt might be good.
Yeah, punt's better than many other alternatives, and it's like I don't know. By passer rating, that was only his third worst game. With Buffalo in 2021, that was the loss last year, 14 for 32, 145 yards, 2 picks. So he didn't throw any picks this time. And then the other one, I don't know if it counts, 3 for 6 against the Bears with the pick, and then got yanked. Everyone in the lower bowl was jumping up and down. It was a very embarrassing moment for the franchise fan base, I think, to go that crazy for Bailey Zappi. So those were the 2 worst passer rating wise. But I'm still sticking with it being bad. But I get what you're saying. He wasn't being reckless and careless, but missing Jacoby Myers up the seam stands out. Missing Jonnu in the end zone, obviously, and just not looking good. I mean, sometimes people over criticize him. I think last week is a fair criticism.
If Mac wasn't pulled from that game, and if Bailey Zappi didn't struggle so much against Chicago, do you think we would have seen Bailey Zappi again by this point? Because I feel like if Zappi had just left it off with being like so good in those games, being a winner, completely like being efficient, doing all those things, I feel like the opinion of Zappi would be much higher than after that Bears game.
Where I say no is they won 3 straight games. They beat the Jets. Granted, it wasn't Mac did throw a pick that game that would have lost them the game if not for John Franklin Myers hitting him unnecessarily and negating it. So I would go more if that penalty wasn't called.
Fair.
If they missed that call, which NFL officials sometimes miss. I don't know if you caught the end of Washington the Commanders Giants game where they missed Kayvon Thibodeau getting poked in the eye and a man jumping on a receiver to end the game. So, I mean, what are you going to do? So let's say they miss that call and the pick 6 stands and they lose to the Jets. I'm sure the heat gets a little bit more turned up and Zappi would have beaten the Colts. I don't have any doubt about that. And he could have beaten the Jets too. It's not like Mac was good in that game or did anything special in that game. So but I still think the team is better off not doing that. I just think Mac is a more capable. His abilities are much broader than Bailey Zappi's, despite the way Zappi looked against the Browns and the Lions.
I agree with that. And you've got plenty of time with Bailey Zappi too. Like you can ride this season out with Mac Jones, even like going to next season if you don't make a quarterback change. And you got Bailey Zappi on a rookie contract for 4 years. So you could turn to Bailey Zappi really at any point over the next 4 years. So certainly don't have to rush things there. Patriots only had one player make the Pro Bowl. That was Matthew Judon. Clearly with his sack numbers, that was deserved, even though I've probably made this point too many times at this point, but a lot of Matthew Judon sacks have been unblocked sacks. They've been stunts. They've been kind of schemed up to some degree. And I think that's where you start to see now in the second half of the season again, sack numbers have fallen off a little bit. I certainly think that it's deserved. He's got a ton of sacks. But that's, I think, one of the reasons why he does kind of run hot and cold a little bit, and why last year, when he had all those sacks, he was giving a lot of credit to his teammates, and why this year he admitted himself that he might not even be the best pass rusher on the team, and that might be Josh Uche. I think that at this point on a one-on-one matchup, like Josh Uche might be the better player to get pressure against a quarterback. But my larger point on the Pro Bowl is
wait. I want to add, it's just a matter of it's a matter of public relations and marketing. The red sleeves are very smart on that single-digit number in the red sleeves. It's like, there he is. You can't ignore it, and it's good. I would equate it to a squirrel tail. Like you see a squirrel walk by, you're like, oh, that's adorable. If it doesn't have that fluffy tail, you're like, yeah, it's a rat. Like, get away. And there's a lot of the visual. Like he's a very good player. I'm not saying he's not, but it just helps boost that status where you get to Pro Bowl level. I mean, leading the league in sacks probably does help as well.
It helps. Fair. But I mean, I think Matt Judon's great. I think that Matt Judon's incredible. But he has gotten some help on those. Michael Onwenu, I think, is one of the biggest Pro Bowl snubs overall this year. And I would have replaced Quentin Nelson with Michael Onwenu because Quentin Nelson has not been good this season. If you compare Michael Onwenu and Quentin Nelson this season, Michael Onwenu has not allowed a single sack, whereas Quentin Nelson has allowed 3 sacks. Michael Onwenu has allowed 8 total pressures this season. Quentin Nelson has allowed 24 total pressures. And both of the offensive lines as a whole suck. So it's not like you can discount Michael Onwenu for being part of a bad offensive line. The Colts offensive line might be even worse than the Patriots offensive line.
Good point.
And at least Michael Onwenu has been better than the rest of everyone else. Somehow he, as I made the point last week, he's continued to be good while everyone else has struggled, whereas Quentin Nelson has done a nosedive just like everyone else on that Colts offensive line.
That's a good point by you. You brought him up recently in a podcast and said that he was a bright spot, and then you flipped it as a negative, saying why wasn't he playing last year? Yeah. I meant to flip it to the negative to say you don't need to take a guard in the first round, clearly, to have an impact
Fair.
player. So it's fair if you're comparing him to the Pro Bowl pick and he's as good, if not better, as a 5th round pick. Probably where you should be getting your guards, but maybe we veer to the negative on that. We can turn any positive into a negative.
I mean, I'll take that a step further too.
Yeah.
Obviously everyone said everything that they have to say about Cole Strange at this point, and it's all fair, it's all everything, and like Cole Strange has not been great this season.
He's not Quentin Nelson, he's not like a game changer impact.
No, and like if you're looking for a small, athletic, small school guard, like not to say those guys like grow on trees, but like there's a lot of athletic, undersized guards out there in college football. And you don't necessarily even just have to pluck them from the guard position. Like Joe Tooney has been one of the best guards in the NFL since he came into the NFL. And he was a 3rd round pick. And like body size wise and everything like that, athleticism wise, Joe Tooney and Cole Strange are pretty similar. And Joe Tooney was able to make an immediate impact as one of the best guards in the NFL. Whereas Cole Strange hasn't. And obviously having Dante Scarnecchia and having like a more solid offensive line and everything like that certainly helped Joe Tooney. But I don't know. The jury's kind of out on Cole Strange. And when they took him, obviously the criticism was that, why are you taking what was he, 24-year-old small school guard in the 1st round?
Well, it was like even if you could have got him later, like you could get anyone later. It's the most replaceable position, I think, on the field.
It is, and the case for him too was that like, okay, but he'll be a solid starter. He'll be
A1
great.
starter,
like
plug and play,
and like he's a guy. He got benched at one point this season, so like I don't know. I mean, I don't know who else. I haven't done the whole research of like who else they could have taken in that spot and all that stuff, but like I think that everyone might have been a little bit too quick to do the reversal on that pick and be like, no, actually, it was good. He's gonna be a day 1 starter. He's gonna be great. Blah, blah, blah. Like he hasn't been that good this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I'm not doing like a PFF style grade of every player of every down. But when I go back and persevere through NFL Plus's coaches film apparatus, which is like I deserve hazard pay for that because it's so bad.
Oh God, it's so bad.
It's so bad. It's so bad. But when I do put it through and you try to figure out what happened, there's times where it's just, why didn't Max step up? Well, because the left guard is getting driven backward into him. And it's not happening every play. I don't mean, but there are these instances where he's just clearly overmatched and clearly overpowered because the men in the NFL are a lot stronger than whoever the hell Chattanooga played last year. So it's again, your point was that Mike Onwenu is really good. And I agree with that. But I just meant to say that you can get a guard later who's at a Pro Bowl caliber. I think I didn't even care about. I never care about the Pro Bowl. Again, I do care that these guys make their money and everything, so I don't mean to dismiss it. But like, no, this guy got snubbed. I don't care. And also, there's no more Pro Bowl. It's all activities. It's like Nickelodeon style Guts, which Guts rocks, by the way. I recently introduced my children to Guts on Paramount Plus. There's like 8 million episodes, so we're set Guts for a long time. Yeah. But I didn't even care. And then Evan Lazar, give him credit, I'm pretty sure it was him, had a tweet saying that Marcus Jones got hosed because Braxton Berrios was chosen as the punt return fill-in. And Marcus Jones has much better stats. He has the only touchdown in the AFC, if I'm not mistaken. So he's got the longest at 84. He's the only AFC punt returner with a touchdown, averaging 13.6. And they went with Berrios, who's averaging 11.9. So didn't care at all. And now I'm like, Marcus Jones should be on there. Come on.
Yeah, that he probably should have been. But yeah, I can't get that worked up over the Pro Bowl. I guess I can only get worked up over Mike Onwenu getting snubbed. But just kind of looking at some of the rookie guards around the NFL, it's not like they like missed out on some like fantastic rookie guard, but I'm sure that at some point in the next 5 years or so, there will be a case to be made for the Patriots having picked Christian Watson at 29 overall, and then maybe waiting until the 2nd or 3rd round to take a guard. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not
Breece Hall, pretty good. But I mean,
Breece Hall's pretty good.
They got some good rookie running backs too. So I'm not gonna. Yeah. We're not gonna do that. We could. Kenneth Walker. Oh wow, he's pretty good too. No, we're not gonna do that though.
I think you wanted to spend the rest of the podcast talking about Cameron McGrone. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was hoping. What do we got? Like 3 hours on McGrone. No, I just think the McGrone going to who claimed him, Indianapolis, is
Colts.
interesting. Yeah, because he was like sold as a certain thing, and this is not Cameron McGrone's fault at all. But you look at his college production, and it was minimal. It's not as if he was a star player for Michigan. They drafted him after he tore his ACL. Was it at a pro day that he tore it? I want to say.
No, I think
Oh,
it was
it
late in the
was during the
season.
season?
Yeah.
Okay. Someone else tore their they got a no. You know what it was? Last year, someone tore their ACL at a pro day. I'm like, well, Bill's gonna draft him. He didn't, but he was known. It was known that he wasn't gonna play as a rookie, and it was like,
Right.
all right, well, next year he'll have that experience in the system, in the program, and all that. And then all spring, Matt Gross said it after the draft. Why didn't you draft a linebacker? Well, we have Cameron McGrone, so that's basically like a draft pick right there. And the fan base, to a certain extent, was really hyping this kid up as if he was going to be this big difference maker. And it was like, what are you basing that on? I really never got
Right.
it, with the opportunity to be proven wrong. And now he's gone, having never played. He was elevated against the Cardinals, which I'm sure he made a lot more money that week, coming off the practice squad and being active. Being on the active roster, but not active on game day. But other than that, we never saw him play football. So it was just not the hugest deal, but I think it's notable that they did seem to rely on him. And then the last point is like, haven't the linebackers been all right? Like, surprisingly, we're never really like
They have.
banging a drum that they're screwing up.
I might have been to blame for some of the Cameron McGrone
Oh
hype
no,
because
you're a McGrone guy.
I was a McGroner
Oh,
back in what was it when they took him 2021.
McGroner.
um, uh, just tell me what you want me to. Yeah, I liked McGrone because he was kind of like an undersized linebacker. He was good in 2019. He was young too. He's still only 22.
Okay.
I think he came out after his junior year. And yeah, I was just like, I don't know. I liked the idea of getting someone like maybe a little bit later than you could have got him. But like, even
Yeah.
still, I don't know if they really did get that much of a discount on him because he tore his ACL. Like, I'm not sure how high Cameron McGrone would have gone in an ideal draft where he didn't tear his ACL. You know what I mean? Like, what is he, like a third or fourth round pick rather than a fifth round pick at that point?
Well, that's the
Um,
thing is, like, I obviously didn't break down the Michigan tape of every play, but he had 3 sacks in college
yeah,
in 16 games. He had 91 tackles, 11 for a loss. So like, he wasn't bad. He had 1 pass defense and 1
yeah.
forced fumble. It was like, okay, so he played defense in college. I didn't. I thought that the idea that he would come in and be like an impact player was a bit much, and it's probably all for naught. But it's one of those things that was a story all summer. Was it a story all summer? It was a story, and I just agreed with it.
I kind of missed that whole story, fortunately, because I probably would have been hyping him up to an embarrassing degree as well. But
You know what's
no,
funny? I was on NBC doing the thing with like Ted Johnson was the other guest, and we had to like pick a thing that was like bothering us or whatever. And I was like, all these people that are like big on Cameron McGrone, and Ted Johnson just looks at me and he goes, "Are there Cameron McGrone people?" I was like, "Shut up, Ted. I'm trying to get
trying to
mad
make a
over.
point.
I'm trying to get upset about something that isn't the coaching situation."
The linebackers have been pretty good though. I think Jelani Tavai in his like first and second down role has been fine. Juwan Bentley is having a really solid season. There hasn't been many times when you're like, oh man, Juwan Bentley was like too slow on that play or whatever it is. I'm not sure like why he's playing better. It seems like maybe the Patriots coaches have just figured out a way to limit his limitations a little bit more this season. And then even like Raekwon McMillan's been making some plays out there. Mac Wilson started off pretty slow, but he's kind of picked it up as well. So yeah, overall, not like a big name group, but overall that position's been pretty solid for the Patriots this year.
I also I take Duggar, Phillips, and Peppers and say they're like half
Right.
linebackers at
Pseudo
least.
linebackers,
So
yeah.
it helps because I always think of the NFL changes pretty significantly over the course of 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I always think of like Dante Hightower chasing a speedy running back in coverage and just
Right.
being a step behind. It's like you're not really seeing that anymore because you're not getting that matchup many times anymore because I think there's guys like Phillips out there covering and Duggar's doing whatever
Yeah.
the hell Duggar's doing. That it kind of, it it takes away from the stress or the needs of the linebacking core, I think. Because you went through those names. It's not like they're stacked still. They're still maybe
No, they're
lacking
not.
human beings, but it hasn't been, I don't think, a weakness of the defense.
I thought it was going to be like a linebacker core similar to like what was in like 2011 when you had like Gary Guyton at linebacker. Um, it was yeah, and like maybe Gerard Mayo was like hurt, whatever it was. Like there was some very lean years at linebacker, and then all of a sudden they had Gerard Mayo, Brandon Spikes, Dante Hightower, and Jamie Collins, and they were like loaded at the position basically every year up until this year. But so I thought that this was going to be a major regression at the linebacker position, and it
Can I
hasn't
just,
been. So
I want to say
credit to everyone for that.
Sean Crable. I want to throw Sean Crable in there. I feel like that's one.
He had like bird legs, right? He was a Michigan guy.
Yeah, he was
Skinny
long,
ankles.
long. Yeah, I don't know about the ankle specifically, but I know he was someone that I just wanted to say his name.
Sean Crable. Michael Lombardi made some interesting comments this week. He was he went out there on a limb, said that Bill Belichick made a massive mistake hiring Matt Patricia and Joe Judge to run the offense. I think Michael Lombardi is kind of like strayed from the Patriot way, like being Bill Belichick's mouthpiece quite a bit over the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. Like he's been removed from the system for what, since 2016, 2015, something like that. His son no longer works for the Patriots. His son, Mick Lombardi, is now the Raiders offensive coordinator. So I feel like when Michael Lombardi used to talk about the Patriots, it was like, all right, well, this is what Bill Belichick thinks. This is what the tone is inside the building. But he still really went out on a limb, criticizing Bill Belichick, criticizing Matt Patricia, criticizing Joe Judge, said that they're calling offensive plays like it's Battleship. There's no structure in place to the way that they're calling plays. And I mean, it's a lot of the things that we've said on this podcast, but it is interesting now that Michael Lombardi is saying it as well.
For sure. And I do think it was overstated that he was like in the deep pocket of Bill Belichick. So if he said it, it meant Bill Belichick was saying it, because if I had that reputation, I would obviously speak as if I had that, and then people would eat it up, and I'd make all this news and get all these interviews. So I do think that was overstated, but you brought up a good point. His son is no longer there. So I think that is probably if your son's boss, right, you're not going to go out, and if you have a voice and a microphone, you're not going to go out and negatively, you're going to defend him because he's your son's boss. Like, you're not an idiot. So I guess that maybe makes him less beholden to hold up Bill Belichick in a certain way, but I still think it stood out because he obviously, even though he has been separated and has no sort of, doesn't owe anything to the organization, his kid's gone, whatever, but he still doesn't seem like someone who would say there's a Bill Belichick failure. Like, that seems above and beyond saying like, oh, it's not working out, they got to do this. And we've heard him criticize Mac Jones, and it's never like a failure. It's always, he's got to do this, he's got to work out more, whatever. I don't know, whatever it may be. It just feels like this was a little extra. So that's why it stood out to me. And now you read because if you read the quote, it's like, yeah, everyone says that, dude. But the fact that it's coming from someone with that history makes it stand out more, where it's like, maybe those, if Bill relies on Mike Lombardi for advice, I don't know that he does. I doubt that he does, but other people that he may call and talk football with in February when he's not in the Super Bowl, maybe there will be more people being like, yeah, you really, I watched from afar and it wasn't good. Like, maybe there's going to be more of that. It's unavoidable.
I think it is. I mean, I'm shocked that like the people that he was talking to, they trusts, weren't saying it more this offseason, because like that's the same type of stuff that I was hearing after they went with this decision of like, this is going to hold back the progress of Mac Jones. And at the time I was like, all right, yeah, I mean, we'll see. And I think that it 100% has. Like, Mac Jones has not progressed the way that he probably would have with a real offensive coordinator in there. How different do you think things would have been this season if Mick Lombardi was the offensive coordinator and play caller? I don't think we really know the answer to that because we don't know what a Mick Lombardi offense would look like. But I wonder how much of Bill Belichick going with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, who have been NFL head coaches before, who have gotten a lot of criticism before from Detroit, from New York, everything like that. Like, I wonder how much that played into it of like, rather than throwing Nick Caley to the Wolves, rather than throwing Mick Lombardi to the Wolves, rather than throwing some like 20-something-year-old or 30-something-year-old inexperienced coach of the Wolves into running offense. I don't know. I wonder how much of that was just like, all right, like this guy's probably going to get criticized anyway. Let's at least let someone who's experienced get criticized for it.
It just, I guess it goes. I mean, we've said it before. We brought it up a few times, like the blame me line, and I put this in the same regard where it's like, when did like the right decision become being magnanimous and not letting so and so get criticized for doing a bad job? It's like
Right. Yeah.
the goal of the organization has always been to win and to do whatever it takes to win, not to like, well, let's do this and it probably won't work. And if it does, I'll take the blame. And I don't want someone to feel bad about it. It just feels like it doesn't feel in line with what they're doing. And it's also like, what year did they hire Greg Schiano for like a month? And he never actually, was that 2019? I want to say.
I think it was
That
2019. It was after Brian Flores left.
Yeah, so that was the case where it's like, all right, well, we need a defensive coordinator, and then obviously that didn't happen. But I mean, there has been some precedent to doing it. It just feels like this, however you want to rationalize it, if it's like Bill's, falling on the sword and saying like, well, I'll take the hits. It's like, why not just not take hits? Why not hire
Right.
someone that can do it? And that's what I don't understand.
Before we get onto our next topic here, head to thrivefantasy.com. Use promo code Doug, and you will get your any money that you put in, I think up to $100 matched by Thrive Fantasy. So if you put in $10, they will give you $10 for free. If you put in $100, they will give you $100 for free. It's prop-based fantasy. So you're picking overs, unders on prop bets. It's a lot of fun. You can do contests, or you can do, a prop parlay, see how many props you can get right. And if you're a first time user, then there's usually some sort of discounted prop today. If you would have done this on the Jaguars Jets game, you could have bet the over for Trevor Lawrence for 1 passing yard. So definitely jump on that. Thrivefantasy.com. Use promo code Doug. All right, let's talk about the rest of the season here. Patriots will be playing the Bengals on Saturday. Then they will play the Miami Dolphins on New Year's, and then they will be playing the Buffalo Bills to close out the season. So the question is what the Patriots can accomplish positively over the final 3 weeks of the season. You wrote about this week. I think that over the next 3 weeks, and even obviously you're assessing the last 15 weeks as well, you just kind of have to figure out like who you want to work with on this team moving forward, because this is obviously a very important offseason for the Patriots. Last offseason was as well, but like now that this just keeps happening where the Patriots are a middling team, whether or not they make the playoffs, like you've got to figure things out pretty fast heading into next year. And I even think about like heading into this season, it was like, oh, well, I mean, Kendrick Bourne is a super valuable piece on this offense. He's underpaid. He's signed for 2 more years. Like that's a cornerstone player. You don't want to trade him. You couldn't get enough for him in a trade. And it was kind of the same thing with Devontae Parker when they acquired him in a trade too. Okay, he's here for 2 years. It's gonna be great. He'll be here for 2 years. He'll make a massive impact. Like that he's here beyond just this year, unlike Nelson Aguilar and Jacoby Myers. At this point, like, I don't know, like, is it a guarantee that Kendrick Bourne and Devontae Parker will even be on the roster in 2023? Like, are those guys that you need to work with moving forward? I think, like, probably. I don't think you're going to get a better group of wide receivers than those guys. But at the same time, like, they haven't really done that much. I kind of feel that way about a lot of players on this team where, like, I don't think you're going to tear it down to the studs or anything like that. But there's a lot of guys that you can cut bait with, not take on that much dead cap, and like maybe just try to find better players who either fit the system better or can be bigger impact makers. So I think that that's a big thing over the next 3 weeks is to figure out who you actually want to keep working with on this team.
Yeah, because going into this year, it was like, well, who has Mac established chemistry with? And Bourne was answer number 1. And now it's like, could they get it back? Yeah, but I think it's been short circuited. Like it's been when you squeeze the candle, when you put the candle out, that's what it's extinguished. That's the word. It's been extinguished. And it's like, he had a good thing with Hunter Henry in the red zone. That's not happening anymore. He never had anything with Jonnu Smith, so it's sort of like maybe that's over too. Aguilar is Aguilar. There's in the passing game, as much as we can't like evaluate the players and the quarterback and things because of how poorly it's been set up and how poorly everything's been designed on that side of the ball. It feels like to your point, it feels like the opportunity is there for not a 2020 level reset, but if they want to make wholesale changes and swap 3 of their skill players out, that's probably going to happen.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably not going to be like a 2020 reset, but at the same
No.
time, like just looking at the roster, Damian Harris very well might not be back next year. He's a free agent, and they've got Ramondre Stevenson. They just drafted 2 guys. Like at wide receiver, Aguilar and Myers, both free agents. And like I just said, like, I don't know, like, do you need to bring back Kendrick Bourne and Devontae Parker? I don't necessarily like, I feel like this is such a different offseason than what you're used to covering or following the Patriots, where it's like, oh, well, of course Julian Edelman's gonna be back. Of course Devin McCourty's gonna be back. Of course Patrick Chung's gonna be back. Like, no matter what, you have to bring those guys back, re-sign them, whatever it is. Whereas this year, it's just like, I look at this roster and like, do you need to bring back Hunter Henry? I think you need to bring back Jonnu Smith because they restructured his contract. But like, even a defensive back, like Jalen Mills, I think that there's an out on his contract after this year. Like, is it a guarantee that Jalen Mills is going to be on the roster this year? I don't know.
I was thinking that too when he's out again. It's sort of like year 2 is
Right.
just a wash at that point. So that's the personnel side. I think there's a lot. I think the larger picture, there's this, dichotomy among the fans, whether you want them to win 2 out of the last 3, make a push for the playoffs. I'm of the mind that it's always good to be a playoff team, but then there's the other side of it being lose all 3, get a better draft pick, get a better chance in the first round, which I get. But then you look at it, actually, when you look at it, I want to say, I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm going to double check because whenever I do this, there are already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams with double-digit losses, which is obviously the maximum number of losses the Patriots can get. And then there's 3 or more teams that are going to get there. Like Carolina has 9 losses. New Orleans has 9 losses. Atlanta has 9 losses. 2 of those teams are going to end up with 10 losses. Pittsburgh could end up with 10. Indianapolis certainly will. Cleveland could end up there. So the idea that you're like going to finish 7 and 10 and pick in the top 10 isn't going to happen. And you might even go like up maybe 2 or 3 spots. So not that you can control that, but I know I went back to when they drafted Mac Jones. Like they drafted Mac at 15, Michael Parsons went at 12. And it's like they weren't going to draft him. I think they were taking a quarterback no matter what. But it's just one of those things where it's like, if the difference between a franchise altering player and someone who's not is winning a game in December, then obviously a loss is better. But I still think overall for the health of the franchise, winning any of these games is better than losing them all.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, going to your point on the draft position, that site Unpredictable that I talk about maybe too often about like betting markets for teams, they also do projected draft position. And the highest the highest probability of the Patriots draft order is either 16 or 17. There's a 12% chance on both of those draft slots. 10% for 15, but like 7% for the 11th overall pick. I think that that's a place where you could actually get a pretty significant impact maker, and that's a little bit less likely at 15, 16, or 17. And then there's currently a 3% chance that they will be drafting 22nd overall. I think, I mean, Bill Belichick is not going to want to lose because these last 3 games are like, they're really important for Bill Belichick, especially when you're talking about like all the reports over the last few weeks of like, could Robert Kraft make wholesale changes to the team, blah, blah, blah. Like Bill Belichick wants to finish as many games over 500 without Tom Brady as humanly possible just to make himself look better. And like, I know that that's not, I know like maybe that's not like the number one thing on his mind or anything like that, but like he wants to win games. He wants to raise his winning percentage. He does not want to lose games because if they lose out here, then I don't think Bill Belichick gets fired, but like at least it like raises the possibility if the end of this season is just completely embarrassing. I don't think there's a point of making the playoffs because the Patriots are not a good team. They do not do well against good teams, and they would almost certainly lose in the first round of the playoffs. And all winning out this year would do is lower their draft position. But it's almost kind of pointless to talk about because we just know that that's not even a thought on Bill Belichick's mind to lose out and do better in the draft.
I'm going to push back on one point you just made at the end there, in that you know it will happen, and you and I will do it, and everyone will do it, because if they make the playoffs, they will most likely have just beaten the Bills in week 18. And they'll very likely, because of that, be playing the Bills in the wild card round the next week. Both games will be in Orchard Park, and we'll be like, they just did it. They just did it a week ago. They just did it. I mean, they could do it again. And then they'll go out, and the Bills will actually try, and they'll whoop. But yeah, I do think that the ultimate prize of getting a trip to Kansas City or Buffalo is not really something to aspire for. But I just think you want to be a playoff team, and maybe we take it for granted in New England, but like, look at Buffalo. They didn't make the playoffs for however long it was. They didn't win a playoff game for 2 decades plus. Like, there is value to it, and maybe we are kind of numb to it because we're kind of like, well, if you're not competing for a championship, what's the point of even getting out of bed in the morning? But I think in this new age of the Patriots, there has to be some small accomplishments along the way. The thing I want to watch for, Doug, and that I'm actually like excited for now after last week, is watching Marcus Jones play against some great receivers again, because like, I put out a tweet in the first quarter when Marcus Jones broke up the pass to Devontae Adams. I was like, oh, what a mismatch for the Patriots. He was freaking good. Like, he was good. And it wasn't like he was good for a rookie, or he was good considering who he was going against. Like, he covered Devontae Adams really well 1 week after covering DeAndre Hopkins really well. So like, maybe they'll throw him on Jamar Chase. Like, maybe is he going to cover Tyreek Hill? I don't know. Maybe he's fast. And then, you know, his digs in the winter, like, let's go see that in Buffalo. Like, I'm excited to watch that play out, because for as much as this season has had a lot of negatives, I think the rookie class is probably the number one positive.
I think that, I mean, yeah, Marcus Jones against Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, if he keeps playing like he has the last 2 weeks, will be really fun. Like, you couldn't really ask for a better matchup. I wish that we could have seen Marcus Jones run a 40-yard dash either at his pro day or at the combine, because like, I just want to know the number, because like, he seems so fast. He moves so quickly on the screen that he took for a touchdown. Like, he was just moving so much faster than the rest of the defense that, like, I'm a nerd about the combine and pro days and stuff. I just want to know the number.
I don't want to do it like, say, but like, who else other than Tyreek Hill makes a play like that, where there's 5 guys in an arc around him in like a 10-yard span, and then they're just all gone. Like, I'm not saying he's as fast as Tyreek Hill, but you're right. I would like to know the number as well. I wouldn't really have any point of reference to it. I would have to Google, is such and such a good 40 number, but people like you just know it instantly, and that would be helpful.
Yeah. I mean, I want to see a race between Tyquan Thornton and Marcus Jones. We haven't seen the Tyquan Thornton season's been it's been pretty disappointing.
Well, it's like,
if we're being honest.
And
I know he went through some personal stuff, so I don't want to like criticize.
Yeah,
him too hard.
I have no issues with like him. It's just like, they have him running 5-yard outs.
Right.
And if your entire strength is downfield speed, it doesn't feel like it's being used. And I'm not saying have 40-yard deep shots. And I know the offensive line and protection is an issue, but how about like a 12-yard comeback? Like, you know, where you have the threat of going deep and you come back, or a deep crosser, even where you're 20 yards deep, like using your speed to get past people, which they actually, fair enough, they did try against Arizona, and that was the pick when Mac got hit. No, sorry. Was it a pick? Yeah, he threw a pick, Isaiah Simmons, right? Yeah. So yeah, you don't have the protection. That's the biggest thing. But at the same time, they're kind of utilizing him like he's like a possession receiver. And
they're also just utilizing him like he's a decoy. It's like, he's running a ton of routes and not getting really any targets whatsoever, which leads me to think like they probably just don't trust him, I guess, at this point. But I don't know, like, no one else is doing anything. I'd just like to see what would happen if you threw him the ball more. And yeah, if you utilized him better as well.
Yeah, like maybe some of those Marcus Jones plays could have worked for him. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. It's like, you're putting a cornerback on the field when like the wide receiver you drafted in the second round runs just as fast, if not faster. I don't know.
Yeah,
like maybe not on pads, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it's been a little strange.
But yeah, I do think on the whole, and you know, if Jack Jones comes back, I think that's valuable experience that those guys can get, even if this is a lost year. you have some heavy duty receivers on the schedule. So at least those two guys who I mean, you could maybe nitpick a couple things, but I think they've performed as well, if not better, than you could have possibly expected from two rookie cornerbacks. So that's probably like the best player development angle to these next few weeks.
This week's game could be a little bit messy when you've got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. Once again, you don't have Jalen Mills, but yeah, this is like the best test that you can possibly have for Marcus Jones, Jonathan Jones, and Jack Jones. If Jack Jones is back out there, and if he's not, then I think that you might start to see Miles Bryant exploited a little bit in this matchup. But yeah, I mean, there's no better wide receiver trio in the NFL than what they're about to face with the Bengals. And Joe Burrow is quite good as well. I will say this year, for one reason or another, the Bengals have not been utilizing like deep passes for Joe Burrow. That seemed to be his strength last season, was like hitting on almost every single deep throw that he made. And they've basically like cut his deep targets in half this season. So that is
that
one
like maybe to preserve
plus.
him so he doesn't break in half.
It's certainly possible. Yeah. Because I mean, he got sacked so much last season, dealt with injuries already, but like they upgraded the offensive line, but La'el Collins has been sort of a disaster in pass protection this season, even though he was supposed to be an upgrade over what they had last year.
Yeah, I do agree with you that this week could be messy. And again, this is like the most oversimplified thing. And I mentioned it a couple weeks ago, but when you look at the quarterbacks the Patriots have beaten this year, it's Trubisky, it's Goff, who has turned good, but at the point in time, no one was really saying it. It's Brissett, a backup. It's Zach Wilson twice, who's starting but is a backup. Sam Ehlinger and Colt McCoy. And when they've lost, it's been Tua, it's been Lamar, it's been Rodgers, it's been Justin Fields, who doesn't really fit in that category. It's been Cousins, it's been Josh Allen, and now it's been Derek Carr. So now you have Joe Burrow. It does feel like when and whether those quarterbacks led to the win or not, when it comes time to make a play and it's 3rd and 7 in the fourth quarter, when it's someone who's capable of doing it, they've been able to do it this year. I don't think it's coincidental that when you have experienced good starters in the Fields game, again, throw that out. That was a different night. The opposing quarterback has been able to win the game. And I feel like that's going to happen again.
Yeah, and Joe Burrow is a very good quarterback. I will say with Jared Goff has been better, but they've also basically like completely changed their offense, it seems like, since that game, where now they're just like, all right, Jared Goff is going to throw slow passes to Amon-Ra St. Brown. We are not going to trust him to throw downfield. We are not going to trust him to put the offense on his back, and we are going to be as conservative as humanly possible. And hey, it works for them.
Wait, Doug, are you telling me that after going 0 for 6 on 4th down, the Lions made some changes? They saw the fault of their ways?
You know what? It's amazing that there are teams around the NFL who do make changes to their offense if things aren't working.
Hard. It's pretty hard.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to do, but
people forget though, 0 for 6 on 4th down. I made a joke earlier, or I kind of snidely talked about Mac Jones saying it's okay when a drive ends in a kick. Right. It's okay when a drive ends in a kick. It's field goals and punts aren't the worst thing in the world when you turn it over 6 times on downs.
I've thought that the not to get too deep into the Lions here, but like there's been like this sentiment of like, oh, maybe the Lions don't need to draft a quarterback. Like Jared Goff's been great this season. Like maybe they can just keep riding with Jared Goff. It's like, guys, like how like if you're gonna be good moving forward, like if Ben Johnson sticks around, if Dan Campbell's actually a good coach, like you've got some good young pieces, like how many times are you going to have a pick in the top 5 like you do this year with that Rams pick? Like you lucked into a top 5 pick. You have your own pick. Like you can move up no matter like however far you want. If you like Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, or Will Levis at all, like you have to go get him. Like Jared Goff, I'm sorry, Jared Goff is a nice guy. Like he's not the answer. It's insanity.
He's he's perfect for the role he's in right now, for that team in that moment. That moment being like the operative word. Like he's not your franchise. And if you want to just be fine, which the Lions are, then I think Goff is going to be your guy. But if you want to build a team, which I've got the Lions winning this week. I'm on team Dan Campbell. I'm all in on it. They could beat the Panthers, they could beat the Bears, they could beat the Packers, they could go 10-7. Like let's do it. But long term, no. Like, come on.
I think ideally you want your your veteran quarterback to ride the hot streak early in the season, like Geno Smith did, rather than late in the season when you can talk yourself into the veteran quarterback who's riding a hot streak. And the Geno Smith, even though he just made a Pro Bowl, the Geno Smith hype train is kind of died down a little bit. Jared Goff hype train is rising up a little bit. And for the Lions' sake, I hope they do not talk themselves into that. We don't have that much longer to talk. So I want to talk about Julian Edelman comments about Mac Jones, saying, what do you say? He was making pissy faces. Is that the term that he used?
I feel as though I am the only viewer of Inside the NFL because I wrote that story and then everyone did. And I'm like, I don't think anyone was watching. I think that was all me. So shout out to me for making the news from what
Good
other
job.
people said. I watch it.
Headlines.
I mean, Edelman is good in that show. I have to say,
He is.
It's a good show. But it was basically like Ray Lewis was upset that Mac Jones got shoved into the ground by Chandler Jones, and Brandon Marshall came to his defense and said, like, well, they don't practice that. And then Edelman's like, well, he doesn't practice throwing fits and his antics and making pissy faces after every play, but he does that. And I thought that stood out because you and I have talked about it, how we're kind of like, oh, this storyline. But I think the fact that it's now, what I'm thinking about is like, you could be like, all right, Brady does it, Manning does it, but they don't do it every week. And they're also some of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. When you're not the greatest and you're doing it and it's like you're like your homeostasis. Like if that's your status, it's definitely, I understand that it's a story and it's not appealing. And if a guy like Edelman is saying that, I think that's pretty damning, to be honest with you, because he played with Brady. He got reamed by Brady. Inside the NFL actually posted an Instagram of Brady tearing up his Bucs teammates in San Francisco, and Edelman liked it. I saw liked by Edelman 11. So he knows that that's part of being great. But I just think in this instance, the fact that Edelman is turned off by it, I think that is more than like, the radio or the fans or whatever.
So my mind kind of changed on this a little bit this week when I think it was Mike Giardi and maybe Greg Bedard, something like that, both pointed out that Mac Jones was yelling at Ramondre Stevenson after the play. Well, with the
incompletion to Aguilar,
Nelson Aguilar,
second
Ramondre
down.
Stevenson like ran the wrong route, but it was kind of convoluted because he kind of had to like run around defenders. But essentially,
third down.
He brought the defender too close to the area of Nelson Aguilar. It made the pass more difficult. Put another defender in the way. Okay, sure. Ramondre Stevenson's fault. Like, hand up, Ramondre Stevenson did the wrong thing there. Ramondre Stevenson is the best goddamn player on the offense. Like, sorry, like Ramondre Stevenson has been. I know that like quarterbacks are more valuable than running backs. So like Mac Jones' WAR or whatever is probably higher than Ramondre Stevenson. But like Ramondre Stevenson has been significantly better as a running back than Mac Jones has been as a quarterback this season. The offense would not be where it is right now if Ramondre Stevenson was not on the field. Like, let the guy make a mistake. Like, if you're yelling at Matt Patricia, it's kind of like funny and quirky. If you're yelling at Ramondre Stevenson before he makes the lateral back to Jacoby Myers, then it's just like, dude, you're not that good. Like, you're not as good as Ramondre Stevenson's been this season. You're going to be missing passes late in the game, and you're going to get steamrolled by Chandler Jones, and it's going to be embarrassing, and you can't be doing that to your teammates who are good and who are like the same age as you and who have been probably more valuable to the team than you. So I think that that's kind of like where you find an issue with it. If you're frustrated by the coach who's never coached offense before, sure, I understand it. Great. Good on you. I don't know. I don't love doing that to Ramondre Stevenson in that situation.
Yep. Well said. Nothing to add. No notes.
And one more thought on Ramondre Stevenson, because in our notes here, we have any lingering thoughts on the lateral play. I don't think I said this before on this show. I think I've said it before on other shows, but Ramondre Stevenson, the first lateral to Jacoby Myers, I've kind of warmed up to it. Like, he gained more yards than he thought he was going to gain.
It was a safe lateral.
There was a group of Raiders defenders around him trying to tackle him because he's a difficult human being to tackle. So like there was Raiders defenders behind him, and then there was a group of Raiders defenders around him. So in that situation, I don't actually hate the idea of throwing the ball behind you to a playmaker who's very close to you, who's going to then catch that ball and maybe actually turn that into a touchdown. Because at that point, Ramondre Stevenson was not going to score a touchdown. There was a chance that someone that he threw the ball to was going to score a touchdown. And there was a very small chance that that football was going to get fumbled or brought back for a touchdown. I can't excuse the Jacoby Myers one. Like there's no excuse whatsoever for that. But like and the Ramondre Stevenson lateral was bad because it put the idea in Jacoby Myers' head that it was going to be a lateral play. But that actual lateral, it wasn't bad. I kind of liked it.
Did you watch the dots? You know, the next gen dots?
Yes.
So that kind of speaks to your point where if that was say like if he flipped it to Tyreek Hill, he probably would have scored because you just looped back around and everyone was kind of to that side of the hash. I get it. I still say when the play call is draw, that shouldn't be in your head at all. But you know, fair enough. My question was more, you know, with some of the dust settled, does this end up? Because to me, the funniest play in NFL history is the Colts fake punt when whoever Griff Whalen or whatever snapped it with 3 guys just all alone. I will never take more enjoyment out of sports than that moment. Like the butt fumble is funny, but it's chaos of sport. Like it doesn't happen. But I mean, Vince Wilfork pushing a guy, a missed handoff, you run, things happen. Yeah. Like Miami Miracle, I even is like, all right, well, you tried, you got beat. These things happen. This just. I can't think of anything like this. So I do think it has the staying power of all those things, but it lacks like, or what's the guy? Any old person that's listening is going to be mad. Yamo Caprellian or whatever for the Vikings, like the kicker who tried to throw it in the Super Bowl, like lefty, like, but it doesn't have necessarily the name. So maybe that might help the PR in the long term. We talked about PR.
True, earlier. There hasn't been like an effective nickname for this play, like the lateral.
Like Miami Miracle was instant.
Yeah,
but fumble was instant. I mean, Colts fake punt play doesn't have one, and maybe I'm the only one that harps on that. But there's some times where I'll tweet like, "This is the worst play ever," and like 12 people will just send the Colts fake punt play, even though I'm not serious. It's just like, how dare you joke about this when the Colts fake punt play happened? I wonder if this play supplants it.
Yeah. Can you still hear me? By the way, you can.
I can. Yeah.
Okay. Fortunately, my daughter's school keeps calling me. I don't know why. It's 8 p.m. at night on a Thursday. I don't think
school may be canceled, Doug. There's a big storm coming.
That's what I'm thinking, is that school might be canceled.
Wow. Good luck to you tomorrow.
I'm assuming that's probably what it is. But I would like them to leave a message instead of just continuing to call me when they know I'm podcasting. Like, who doesn't know that?
We have the technology
at this time.
We have the technology for that. I actually derail. I'm easy to derail, Doug. I'm in the process of selling and buying a car, and I put all my info in and get all this stuff. I have gotten like 55 phone calls, 3 million emails, 80 texts. My voicemail's full for the first time of my adult life. And it's like, guys, I drive a 2011 Civic. Like, if you want it this bad, like, come and get it and give me more money than you're offering. Like, I'm not like this. It's chaos. It's chaos. So
selling things on like Craigslist or Facebook Market, it
wasn't that.
So goddamn annoying.
It wasn't even that. It was like, put your value in from like Kelly Blue Book, Edmonds, all that. And then it like goes to dealerships, and like certain dealerships have called me 30 times. I'm like, I don't trust you as a business. If you want a 2011 Civic this bad, like, you guys are down bad. Like, you got to reevaluate. It's a 2011 Civic. Like,
are you getting a truck? Are you getting a truck?
So I thought I just don't need one. I want one, but I just don't need the truck, even though I want one. And then I'm like, oh, I'll get like a Highlander or something, like a big SUV. And then it's like, I don't need a big one. I could just get a small one. It's like, damn it. So I don't know, Doug. I go on and I look for one, and then I look at 20, and then I'm like, oh, an Audi would be nice. And I'm like, oh, look at BMW is a good deal. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You drive a 2011 Civic. Anything you get as an upgrade, stop looking at luxury vehicles. But it's a problem. It's not good. If anyone listening wants to help me, you know where to find me. Like, please, I need a lifeline.
So school is canceled tomorrow. That's actually kind of good. It was going to be a half day anyway. Now I don't have to wake up and like drive her to school and everything like that. So that's good. Trucks are cool. My Ford Maverick cool because it gets good gas mileage, but also, a lot of the time, my 5-year-old daughter like never stops talking, like, ever. She's probably talking.
Can't relate.
She's probably trying to talk to me right now. But in a car, sometimes there's a lot of space and it's hard to hear them. And if they're saying something important, then I have to keep saying, what? What'd you say? What? Truck, it's a compact space. there's no like space behind that the sound can
Mm.
go. So that's
Mhm.
it's another perk about the truck is that you can actually
They don't
hear
tell
your
you that in the
kids
literature.
if they're
They
trying to
don't tell
talk
you
to
that
you.
in the
No,
literature
exactly.
in the showroom.
No,
But you got
it's
that
very true.
Maverick. You were like ground floor. It's like cost double
Yeah.
that. Like you can't. I
Really?
missed that. I
Oh
missed the
man, I
boat.
should sell mine then.
It's no. Well, then you need a car. So let me tell you, it's not where you want to be. It's just not where you want to be in life at all.
No, I don't want to sell mine anyway. Yeah, I that was smart of me, I think, to get on the
It
ground
was.
floor
I
of that.
thought about it, but I didn't pull the trigger. I wish I did. I didn't know there was gonna be a chip
Um,
shortage in 2020.
Shout
Bozo.
out to Patriots fan Jerry Edmond. He was the one who was getting yelled at by the Raiders fan in Las Vegas. What Robert Kraft is flying him in, or is it this game? Is it
Yeah, it's
Saturday's
this
game?
game, which I'm surprised because it's Christmas. Like, I'd be like, can we
Right.
do like next week, please? I,
I don't know.
I
Can we
don't
do
really
New
want to go.
Year's?
But no, I like that story because every
Yeah.
story on the internet is basically like this bad person did a bad thing. Let's shame them. I think this person obviously was going through hell by a woman who was pretty terrible, and
Hmm.
he he didn't know he was being filmed. He just
Right.
did a nice job of being a human being, and he's getting a nice reward for it. And the whole internet is like, "Oh, that's good," and that never happened. So I wanted to bring that up today.
No. Yeah. Usually it's a case where like either the woman who's yelling at him was the one who would be like named and people would find out who she is,
Which like maybe
or
we should like maybe that should happen because that shit's pretty bad. Like those
what's
people. But
what's
anyways,
also the what is it when like someone does something good, their name gets
oh,
out there
milkshake
and
duck,
then
milkshake
yeah,
duck.
milkshake duck. So I'm glad that Jerry Edmond is not a milkshake duck
Yeah,
also.
yeah, that's always funny. They're like, so and so, look at this video, humans helping humans, like kindness, and then it's like, oh,
Yeah,
that
oh, they
person.
were actually
Yeah, we don't need to besmirch any milkshake ducks, but they're bad out there.
we don't need to give example, but there's plenty of milkshake ducks out there, and hopefully by the time this comes out, Jerry Edmond is not a milkshake duck. I don't think he is
No,
based on his reaction
no.
to that video. I think that if he was going to be a milkshake duck, then he would not have had that reaction.
What would you
So
do in
no,
that
that is a
situation,
fun
Doug?
story. Um,
You never know. What do you think you'd do?
I think I'd
For anyone that doesn't
laugh
know,
at first.
not everyone. We should probably clarify. There was a Patriots fan in the upper
Yes.
deck at Reliance Stadium when the Patriots lost. He was getting verbally assaulted all day, and then when the Raiders won, this one was like in his face, screaming at him,
Yeah.
dancing in his face, like just being a horrible human being, and he didn't respond. So that's the story.
Yeah.
Anyways, what would you do?
I'd probably like kind of laugh about it, but then I think I'd also at least say something. So I wouldn't have been
Yeah,
probably as big of a person as Jerry Edmond. Like at some point I would have said something. But I think like in that situation, even though it's like crushing and like you're really bummed about what happened, like I think it's still like sort of funny that someone would be like that big of an asshole about it.
yeah.
I
Well,
don't know if we swear on this podcast. I guess we do now.
whew, you just did.
Because
So
I
that
just did.
happened.
There's no turning back now.
It is after 8 p.m. No, but I'd probably say so. I don't say anything to anyone, but like at a certain point, you gotta like freak out. Like you gotta snap. So I don't know how you don't
Right.
snap in that situation. That's a
Right.
real ability. I don't know. Maybe you just gotta
Yeah.
shut down, shut off. I would probably like look to the husband and be like, "Sir, please."
Please help me out right now.
I actually had a situation like that. So it wasn't that bad, but at Metallica this year at Boston Calling, I don't know if you've ever seen a festival crowd for the headliner, just like tens and tens of thousands of people all over the field. And my friend and I got pretty good spot. We went like an hour and a half early, got set up in front of the tent, and we're there for a while. And then this woman is like yelling at me. And I'm like, and she's like, could you not bump into me one more time? You keep bumping, you keep bumping. And I'm like, is this really happening? And I'm like, there's like 55,000 people here. Like, I'm sorry. And then like, I wasn't going to fight her. Like I was going to let her yell at
That's
me
good.
and whatever. And I was going to be like, okay, I'll try not to bump you anymore. And then like her boyfriend or whatever said something to me. And I just looked at him and I said, no, don't. Like, and he was like, yeah, well, like this, like you don't, this doesn't have to happen. Like, it's a bad idea.
No.
And I'm not like playing tough guy, obviously. It's just like,
Right.
don't. And he was like, yeah.
This doesn't.
So
need
I guess
this doesn't. Need
I guess yeah. I wasn't being like tormented or whatever for like fandom.
Right.
It was just existing in a crowd of 55,000 near this one woman who hated it. So my bad. I apologize to her sincerely. I'll try not to bump into you next time.
I can't think of a specific situation like this, but I think that my reaction would be to like kind of laugh. Like if in a situation where like if I'm driving and if like I don't see a situation like I'm thinking about if I'm driving, it's dark outside, someone starts to cross the street, I don't see it at first, but then I stop before hitting them. This has happened a couple times because streets are very dark where I live.
Mhm.
But I see them eventually and I stop, but then they like yell at me and be like,
Mm.
"Oh, you didn't like." Then like inevitably I'll be like, "Yeah, but I stopped. Like I did what I was supposed to do. I didn't kill you. I didn't hurt you. I didn't like." I think that so that would be like I think that that's the closest thing for me
Mm.
is that like I
The
probably
car
say something.
the
You
car
know?
elevates things. Like the car elevates so
Right.
many emotions. So that might be
Yeah.
it's different like the things I say in the car. I actually had the idea for a podcast where my car is just always recording, but it clicks on when it hears my voice and it would just be like the most embarrassing thing. It would probably be good, like
Yeah.
it would be like good therapy to listen to. It'd be like, you need to get better, Michael. But I
Yeah.
just
I get
never
really
will.
angry in cars.
It's really bad, but I think that'd be a great podcast. It would be very funny. Just me like swearing intermittently for like over the course of 55 minutes on the way home is just like the things I say and the things like you never know that you hate like Arkansas until an Arkansas plate is in
Oh
front of you
yeah.
and they do something and
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, I didn't even know that. But yeah, the car doesn't count, I don't think.
Well, I think a car is like kind of similar to an emotional sporting event, but no, it's true. I also have a drive. I have a driveway where like I have to back out of my driveway. It's a hill, so I go downhill. I'm backing out, and usually there's cars parked on the street because I live near a college, and college kids park on the street. So I have like very little visibility when I'm backing out of a hill driveway, and I can't really see if cars are coming. And so I usually have to have my car kind of in the wrong side of the road facing forward when I then have
Mm.
to pull around and like start going forward. And a car like yelled at me in that situation once of being like you're like in the lane or something like that. I was like, well, I can't see you. You
Mm.
could see me coming. But no, I always do. I always kind of like roll down my window and try to have a conversation with the person. So I don't know. Yeah, it's probably similar to what would happen.
I
We
think
we
the
got to go
long
though.
story short, Jerry Edmonds a better man than both of us. So good
Yes,
for him.
one
Enjoy the
thousand
game.
percent. Go to thrivefantasy.com, promo code Doug. They will match the amount that you put into your account. Follow Michael on Twitter at Michael F. Hurley. Follow me on Twitter at Doug Kyed. Subscribe, rate, review. No one's probably listening at this point because we've been doing non sequiturs for like 12 minutes. But if you are still listening, do all of that good stuff.